David idly traced the rim of his half-empty whiskey glass, the twin moons of Xylos casting an ethereal glow through the reinforced windows of his secluded outpost. The abandoned mining facility, his self-imposed exile for the past 3 years, groaned against the persistent night wind, a familiar lullaby. A sudden proximity alert shattered the quiet. Military instincts honed by years of service in the Earth Alliance propelled him upright, his hand instinctively reaching for the pulse rifle secured beneath his desk as he scanned the security feed. The perimeter cameras showed nothing, yet the sensors insisted on a disturbance. The ensuing crash from the airlock propelled him into action. Weapon raised, he moved silently through the shadowed corridors. The outer airlock seal was breached, a clumsy, desperate job. He could hear the automated environmental systems struggling to compensate. Then, the inner airlock door burst open, and a figure stumbled through, collapsing onto the metal floor. David's finger tensed on the trigger, then froze. Her skin was a deep, vibrant azure, shimmering in the moonlight. A nasty gash marred her shoulder, crystalline blood oozing through the torn fabric of her flight suit. Her eyes, like polished silver, met his, stealing his breath. "Please," she gasped, "they're coming." David kept his weapon trained on her. "Who's coming?" "The hunters," she struggled to rise, faltering. "I can't. I need—" Every fiber of his being screamed danger, trap, but something in those silver eyes pierced his defenses, the carefully constructed walls he'd built since leaving the Alliance. "Don't move," he ordered, quickly securing the airlock. The insistent breach alarm fell silent. She watched him, an expression of mingled fear and curiosity on her face. Despite her injuries, she moved with an otherworldly grace as she pushed herself into a sitting position. The damaged flight suit revealed captivating curves. "I'm Lyra," she said, adding with a touch of dark humor, "though I imagine you've seen my face plastered across wanted broadcasts." "I don't get much news out here," David replied, lowering his weapon slightly. "What kind of trouble are you in?" "The kind that gets people killed," she winced, touching her wounded shoulder. "I wouldn't have come here, but I had no choice. My ship's navigation is damaged, and this was the only settlement within range." "Settlement?" David gave a harsh laugh. "This is an abandoned mining outpost on a worthless rock. I'm the only one here." "Perfect," a ghost of a smile touched her lips. "That's exactly what I need." Before David could respond, another proximity alert blared. This time, the security feeds lit up with multiple signatures. 3 ships, military grade, descending fast. "They found me," Lyra tried to stand, panic edging her voice. "I have to." "Stay down," David moved to the control panel, his fingers flying across the interface. "This facility has countermeasures. They'll have scanning equipment. They'll know I'm here." Maybe, David activated a series of commands he'd hoped never to use. But they won't know about the old mining tunnels, or the electromagnetic interference they generate. The facility's lights flickered as ancient systems roared back to life. On the security feed, the approaching ship's trajectories became erratic, their sensors confused by the interference field. Lyra watched him work, growing fascination in her eyes. "You're not just some hermit, are you?" Former Earth Alliance Special Operations, he kept his attention on the controls. "Though these days, I prefer my privacy. And yet, here you are, helping a wanted fugitive." There was a playful lilt to her voice, despite the dire situation. "How gallant." David shot her a warning look. "Don't mistake practical strategy for gallantry. Those ships are military. If they're willing to chase one person this far out, they're not going to be happy finding anyone here. Right now, our interests align." "Our interests?" She arched an elegant eyebrow. "Does that mean you're going to help me?" Before he could answer, the facility shuddered as the first ship attempted a landing despite the interference. David grabbed his medical kit and moved to Lyra's side. "Hold still," he ordered, examining her wound. The crystalline blood had begun to coagulate, forming delicate, frost-like patterns. "What are you?" she asked with a wry smile. Though I'm sure you've figured out I'm not exactly a common species. David applied a synthetic skin patch to the wound, trying to ignore how smooth her skin felt beneath his fingers. You still haven't told me why they're hunting you.
Would you believe me if I said it was a misunderstanding?
No. She laughed, then winced at the movement. Smart man. But the truth is complicated. And right now. The facility shook again as another ship landed. We might not have time for complicated. David finished treating her wound and helped her to her feet. She swayed slightly, steadying herself with a hand on his chest. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through him. The tunnels, he said, stepping back. We need to move. Lead the way, soldier, she said. Despite her injury, she moved with fluid grace as she followed him. Though I should warn you, helping me could be hazardous to your peaceful exile. David checked his weapon and grabbed an emergency pack he kept ready. Peace is overrated. The tunnels stretched seemingly forever, a labyrinth of deserted mining shafts burrowed deep within the planet's crust. Ethan's boots crunched on crystalline formations, while Elara moved beside him with an almost supernatural silence, her movements fluid despite the injury to her shoulder. Your facility, she said, her voice measured between breaths, does it have other exits? 3, Ethan replied, consulting his wrist computer, its faint glow painting the rough tunnel walls with fleeting shadows. But they'll be watching those by now. We need to go deeper. A distant explosion echoed through the tunnels, and Elara tensed, her silver eye scanning the surrounding darkness. They are not usually this relentless, she murmured. Something's changed. You mean they don't usually detonate buildings to find a single fugitive? Ethan asked. Not unless. Elara trailed off, biting her lip. Unless what? Before she could answer, Ethan's wrist computer chirped a warning. Heat signatures ahead. They were being flanked. He grabbed her arm, pulling her into a narrow side passage. The tunnel tightened, forcing them to move single file, Ethan acutely aware of Elara's warmth close behind him, the subtle hitch in her breathing. They emerged into a larger chamber, ancient mining equipment scattered like the bones of extinct beasts. Ethan's years of training kicked in as he assessed their surroundings. 2 exits, minimal cover, poor lighting. Not ideal. We need to keep moving, Elara whispered, but Ethan held up a hand, silencing her. Something felt wrong. The air shifted. Ethan spun, pushing Elara behind a rusting ore processor just as energy bolts scorched the air where they'd been standing. 3 figures in sleek combat suits materialized, their weapons tracking. We can see you, the lead hunter announced. The female comes with us. The male can live if he cooperates. Ethan felt Elara tense beside him, her hand finding his arm, her fingers trembling slightly. Don't, she whispered. They'll kill you anyway. Probably, Ethan agreed softly, then raised his voice. Here's the thing. This is my home. And I really don't like uninvited guests. He triggered the remote detonator he'd been palming since they entered the chamber. Charges he'd set years ago, a product of his paranoia, detonated, blowing out the chamber's support struts. The ceiling began to collapse. The hunters scattered as rocks rained down. Ethan grabbed Elara and ran for the far exit, his pulse rifle spitting cover fire. An energy bolt grazed his shoulder, but adrenaline dulled the pain. They sprinted through twisting passages, the sounds of pursuit fading behind them. Finally, they reached one of Ethan's emergency caches, a small chamber stocked with supplies. Elara leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Impressive. And slightly insane. Says the woman who crashed into my home, Ethan countered, checking his wound. Superficial. You're not the only one with contingency plans. Clearly, Elara observed, those unsettling silver eyes fixed on him. Most people would have given me up. Most people haven't spent 3 years preparing for worst-case scenarios, he replied, tossing her a water container. Besides, I have questions. Starting with why those hunters are using military-grade stealth tech. Ilara took a long drink before answering. Because they're not really hunters. They are special operations. Like you were.
Earth Alliance?
She shook her head. Galactic Council. They've been very interested in me lately. The Council doesn't usually send kill teams after one person, Ethan said, beginning to check his cash supplies. Unless that person is a serious threat. Or a serious asset, Ilara's voice turned bitter. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. Another explosion rumbled through the tunnels, more distant this time. Ethan's wrist computer showed multiple heat signatures spread throughout the complex. They were being systematically hunted. We need to move again soon, he said. But first, the truth.
What makes you so valuable to the Council?
Ilara studied him for a long moment. Then, with deliberate slowness, she raised her hand. The air around it shimmered, and Ethan felt a strange pressure in his mind, like someone trying to open a locked door. Usually, she said softly, I can make people see what I want them to see. Feel what I want them to feel. The pressure increased, then vanished. But it doesn't work on you. And I need to know why. Ethan's combat instinct screamed at him to raise his weapon, to treat her as the threat she clearly was. Instead, he found himself fascinated by the play of emotions across her alien features, frustration, curiosity, and something like hope. Is that why they want you? Mind control? That's what they tell everyone, she said, a sad smile touching her lips. The truth is much worse. Or better, depending on your perspective. Before she could elaborate, Ethan's proximity sensors pinged again. The hunters had found their trail. Time to go, he said, gathering essential supplies. But this conversation isn't over. No, Ilara agreed, moving to help him. Their hands brushed, and that same electric connection sparked between them. It's just beginning. Deep in uncharted space, the stolen shuttle drifted. Inside, Caleb watched Alana sleep. Her transformed body pulsed with a faint, internal luminescence. 2 weeks had passed since their escape from the Galactic Council ship, each day bringing new and unsettling changes. Still staring, Alana murmured, her silver eyes fluttering open. A flicker of anxiety crossed her features.
Worried I'll blink out of existence?
Just making sure you're still you, Caleb said, helping her sit up. How's the discomfort? Different, Alana flexed her fingers, the air around them shimmering slightly. Less sharp, more expansive. I can feel the fabric of space-time, like an extension of myself. A proximity alert shattered the quiet. Caleb checked the sensors, his face hardening. Council ships. And something else. He showed her the readings. A quantum fold distortion. Like what you generate, but bigger. Through the viewport, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive vessel emerged, ancient and alien in design, unlike anything Caleb had ever seen. Precursor tech, Alana breathed. They found one of their ships. The shuttle's comm system crackled to life. Attention, fugitives, Commander Voss's voice, smooth and condescending, filled the cabin. As you can see, you are not the only ones with access to ancient power. Surrender now, or we will demonstrate what a fully activated precursor weapon can do. Caleb's hand went to the controls, but Alana stopped him. Wait. Something's wrong. The ship, it shouldn't be active. They forced it awake too soon. As if to confirm her words, the precursor vessel began pulsing with erratic energy. Reality warped around it in violent waves. Final warning, Voss's voice returned. Surrender the female, or the transmission cut off as the ancient ship's energy field expanded. Nearby stars began to flicker and dim. They can't control it, Alana realized, her silver eyes widening. The activation sequence is cascading. It'll create a chain reaction that could tear apart this entire sector. Caleb rapidly assessed their options. Can we outrun it? No, Alana stood, her body hovering slightly above the deck. But I can stop it. I understand now why you're immune to my powers, why the Council's experiment worked differently on me. Alana. I'm not just a key to their weapons, she said, turning to him. Her blue skin was now laced with patterns of pure light. I was meant to be their failsafe. The precursors built in a way to shut down their systems if they ever lost control. Caleb grasped her meaning. That's why the Council couldn't fully activate you. They were trying to make a weapon, but you're supposed to be the opposite. Yes. She kissed him, her lips cold against his. And your immunity isn't random. Some humans carry ancient genes, dormant protective codes. You don't just resist my powers, you anchor me. You help me control them. The precursor ship's energy field reached their shuttle. Reality began to fragment around them. What's the plan? I have to interface with their ship. Alana's voice resonated with strange harmonics. Channel its power into myself, then shut it down. But she hesitated. I'll need you with me. Your presence, your connection, it's the only thing that might keep me from losing myself completely. Caleb took her hand. Whatever you need. Alana closed her eyes, and the shuttle's interior dissolved. They materialized in the heart of the precursor vessel, surrounded by crystalline machinery pulsing with the same energy that now flowed through Alana's veins. Voss and his crew lay unconscious, overwhelmed by the ship's power. But Caleb barely noticed them. His attention was fixed on Alana as she approached the ship's central core. Don't let go, she whispered, and reached for the ancient controls. Energy surged through the ship's core, connecting with Alana in a blinding flash. Caleb held tight to her hand as reality buckled around them. Her body arched, absorbing impossible amounts of power. Stay with me, he urged, fighting against the force trying to tear them apart. Remember who you are. So much power, she gasped, her voice echoing across multiple dimensions. I can see everything, all possibilities, all endings. The ship's systems began to overload. Through fractured space, Caleb watched stars birth and die in seconds. Time itself was breaking down. Alana, focus. He pulled her closer, ignoring the cold burn of her transformed skin. You're not their weapon. And you're not just their failsafe. You're *U star. She turned to him, her face a map of constellation-like patterns. What if this is what I'm meant to be? A god? No, Caleb caught her face between his hands. You're meant to be *free star. That's why you ran. That's why you fought. Remember? Something flickered in her silver eyes, recognition, humanity. David, she pressed her forehead to his. Help me end this. Caleb held Alana's hand, the cold burn of her transformed skin a stark reminder of the power surging through her. The crystalline machinery of the precursor vessel pulsed around them, mirroring the energy that now flowed through Alana's veins. Voss and his crew lay scattered across the floor, unconscious, victims of the ancient ship's unleashed power. It's working, Alana breathed, her voice resonating with strange harmonics. The fail-safe protocols are responding. One by one, the crystalline structures dimmed, the chaotic energy subsiding. Reality, which had been warping and twisting around them, snapped back into place. The distortions vanished, and through the viewport, the stars shone with a steady, reassuring light. Alana collapsed against Caleb, the patterns of light fading from her skin, though her silver eyes remained, a testament to the transformation she had undergone. Did it work? She asked weakly. See for yourself, Caleb replied, helping her to her feet. Through the viewport, the chaotic energy storms had vanished. Space had returned to normal, the stars shining with a comforting constancy. The Council, Caleb said, glancing at the unconscious figures of Voss and his crew, won't remember exactly what happened. A side effect of the reality distortion. They'll know their weapon failed, Alana said, a faint smile touching her lips, but not why. She looked down at her hands, flexing her fingers, the air around them shimmering only slightly now. And me. She murmured, changed, but still me. Thanks to you. We should go, Caleb said, aware that the ship's emergency systems would be activating soon. There's a lot of galaxy out there. He added with a grin, and I hear you can bend spacetime now. Is that a proposal, soldier? Despite her exhaustion, Alana's smile turned playful. Running away together? More like running toward something. Caleb pulled her close. Whatever you're becoming, whatever happens next, I'm with you. Alana's powers flickered, and in a blink, they were back in their stolen shuttle, the precursor vessel shrinking behind them. As they jumped to hyperspace, Alana curled against Caleb in the pilot's seat. You know, she said, the Council will never stop looking for us. Let them look, Caleb replied, setting a course for the uncharted regions of space. We've got all of spacetime to hide in. Alana laughed, the sound surprisingly human despite all she had endured. And all of it to explore. A year later, a small house stood on a cliff overlooking an alien sea on a planet far from known space. Its design was a unique blend of Earth architecture and shimmering, crystalline structures that seemed to shift and change with the light. Caleb woke to find Alana's side of the bed empty. He found her on the balcony, bathed in the light of 3 rising suns. She was practicing, small tears in reality appearing and vanishing around her like delicate, shimmering flowers. Show off, Caleb called, joining her on the balcony. Just maintaining control, Alana replied, closing the last of the miniature portals with a flick of her wrist. Besides, someone has to keep our defenses up. They had chosen this planet carefully, far enough from Council space to be safe, but close enough to monitor their activities. In the past year, they had quietly thwarted 2 more attempts to activate precursor weapons, working from the shadows to protect a galaxy that still hunted them. Any news from the quantum feeds? Caleb asked, wrapping his arms around Alana's waist. The Council's looking in completely the wrong direction, Alana replied, turning in his embrace. Though, they're getting creative. The bounty on us is up to 10 million credits. Only 10? Caleb feigned offense. I'm offended. Alana laughed, but then her expression turned serious. They found another artifact yesterday. We might need to intervene soon. We will, Caleb said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. But not today. Today was for them, for the life they had built in the quiet moments between adventures. They were fugitives, heroes, lovers, guardians, labels that meant both everything and nothing. You know, Alana said, her silver eyes twinkling, I can see every possible timeline from here. Every choice, every path. She paused, then added softly, and in every single one where we're together, things turn out okay. She pulled him down for a kiss. Guess the universe ships us. Now who's the show-off? Caleb murmured against her lips. Above them, the stars wheeled in their ancient dance, unaware of the 2 figures who watched over them. Below, alien waves crashed against the cliff face, marking time in their endless rhythm. And in between, 2 people who had found each other across space and time held on to their own private infinity. It wasn't a normal life, but then again, normal had never been their style. Aboard a sleek, silver vessel, Caleb watched Alana sleep. The ship, a salvaged piece of precursor technology, hummed softly around them, a lullaby to the vast emptiness of interstellar space. It had been a year since Alana had deactivated the precursor weapon, a year since they had become fugitives, guardians of a galaxy that still hunted them. The transformation Alana had undergone was subtle now, a faint shimmer around her hands, a silver luminescence in her eyes, a constant reminder of the power she held, the power he helped her control. Penny for your thoughts, Alana murmured, her silver eyes fluttering open. She stretched, the movement causing the air around her to ripple slightly. Still worried I'll turn into a cosmic supernova? Just admiring the view, Caleb replied, pulling her close. Though, a supernova might be less trouble than the Council. Alana laughed, a sound that echoed oddly in the ship's crystalline chamber. They're relentless, aren't they? 10 million credits. We're practically celebrities. Infamous, maybe, Caleb corrected, nuzzling her neck. But definitely rich. Theoretically. A soft chime echoed through the ship. Incoming transmission, the ship's AI announced, its voice a melodic hum. Alana's expression turned serious. Council frequency. Probably Voss, wanting to reminisce about old times. The holographic projector flickered to life, revealing not Commander Voss, but a woman with sharp features and steely grey eyes. "Alana," she said, her voice cool and measured, "it's time to come home." Alana stiffened. "Admiral Thorne. I thought you were retired." "I was," Thorne replied. "Until the Council decided they needed someone who understands your unique situation." "And what exactly do you understand, Admiral?" Alana asked, her voice laced with ice. "That you're not a monster, Alana," Thorne said, her gaze unwavering. "You were a victim. A pawn in Voss's power games." "And now?" "Now, you have a choice," Thorne continued. "Come back with me. Help us understand the precursor technology, help us protect the galaxy from those who would misuse it. Or stay out here, a fugitive forever, hunted by the very people you could be saving." Caleb felt Alana tense beside him. This wasn't the confrontation they had expected.
What kind of guarantee are you offering?
Alana asked, her voice carefully neutral. "Amnesty," Thorne replied. "A clean slate. A chance to use your abilities for good." Alana looked at Caleb, her silver eyes searching his. He knew what she was asking. Could they trust this? Could they risk it? "There's another option," Caleb said, stepping forward. "We help you, but on our terms. No containment, no experiments. We work together as equals." Thorne considered this for a long moment. That he could be arranged. "But you must understand, Alana's abilities are too dangerous to be left unchecked. And being hunted by the entire galaxy is a perfectly safe alternative?" Caleb countered. Thorne's lips twitched in a faint smile. "Point taken. Come back to Council space. We'll discuss the details. Consider it a truce." The transmission ended, leaving Alana and Caleb in silence. "What do you think?" Alana asked, turning to him. "Can we trust her?" "Trust is a luxury we can't afford," Caleb replied, taking her hand. "But we can't keep running forever. Maybe this is a chance to finally fight back." Alana squeezed his hand. "Then let's go home." The ship's engines hummed to life, setting a course for Council space. As they jumped to hyperspace, Alana leaned against Caleb, a strange mixture of hope and apprehension in her silver eyes. They were returning to the world that had hunted them, to face the people who had tried to control her. But this time, they weren't running. This time, they were going back to fight. Their return to Council space wasn't the triumphant homecoming Alana had imagined. Instead of accolades, they were met with suspicion, fear, and the ever-present shadow of Voss, who, despite his demotion, still held considerable influence. Thorne, true to her word, had secured their amnesty, but the Council remained wary of Alana's abilities, her potential. Caleb and Alana worked tirelessly, sharing their knowledge of the precursors, helping the Council develop safeguards against the ancient technology. Alana's ability to manipulate space-time proved invaluable in securing and neutralizing other precursor artifacts, averting several potential disasters. But the trust they were building was fragile, constantly threatened by Voss's whispers of fear and paranoia. One evening, as Alana and Caleb were leaving the Council chambers after a particularly tense meeting, Thorne intercepted them. Her expression was grim. "Voss has made his move," she said, her voice low. "He's convinced the Council that Alana is too dangerous, that she's a ticking time bomb." "He's always been afraid of what he doesn't understand," Alana replied, her silver eyes flashing. "He's playing on their fears," Thorne continued. "He's proposing an preemptive containment protocol. Essentially, imprisoning you indefinitely." "They can't," Caleb began, but Alana stopped him. "They can," she said, her voice cold. "And they will, if we give them a reason." "So what do we do?" Caleb asked, turning to Thorne. Thorne met his gaze. "We fight back. She handed Alana a small data chip. Evidence. Voss's manipulations, his misuse of council resources, his attempts to sabotage our efforts. This could expose everything, Alana said, studying the chip. It will, Thorne confirmed. But it's our only chance. The council needs to see the truth before Voss convinces them to make a terrible mistake. The next day, Alana stood before the council, Caleb at her side. She presented the evidence, exposing Voss's lies, his treachery. The council was stunned, divided. Voss, cornered, launched a desperate counterattack, using his remaining influence to paint Alana as a threat, a manipulator. But this time, things were different. Alana had earned the respect of some of the council members, and Caleb's unwavering support gave her the strength she needed to stand her ground. The debate raged for hours, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. Finally, the council leader spoke. Alana, he said, his voice heavy with the weight of his decision, we have reviewed the evidence. Commander Voss's actions are unacceptable. He will be removed from his position and face disciplinary action. A collective sigh of relief swept through the chamber. Voss, defeated, glared at Alana and Caleb, his eyes burning with hatred. But his power was broken. As for Alana, the council leader continued, we acknowledge the value of your contributions, the sacrifices you have made. We offer you a place within the council, as an advisor, a protector. Alana looked at Caleb, a small smile playing on her lips. They had done it. They had fought for their freedom, for their future, and they had won. We accept, Alana said, her voice clear and strong. But not as subordinates. As partners. Years later, Caleb and Alana stood on the bridge of their own ship, a sleek vessel designed with both Earth and precursor technology. They were no longer fugitives, no longer hunted. They were explorers, diplomats, guardians, working with the Council to protect the galaxy from threats both known and unknown. Their relationship had deepened, strengthened by shared struggles and triumphs. Alana's abilities had evolved, becoming more refined, more controlled. She could manipulate space-time with effortless grace, creating portals, bending light, weaving reality itself to their will. And Caleb, her anchor, her partner, was always there, grounding her, reminding her of who she was, of what they were fighting for. Look, Alana said, pointing to the viewport. A new star system shimmered into view, its planet swirling in a kaleidoscope of colors. Unexplored territory. Ready for another adventure? Caleb smiled, taking her hand. Always. He pulled her close, their lips meeting in a kiss that spanned galaxies, a kiss that promised a future filled with endless possibilities. They had come a long way from the abandoned mining outpost and the stolen shuttle. They had faced unimaginable dangers, overcome impossible odds. But through it all, they had found something more precious than power, more valuable than freedom. They had found each other. And in the vast expanse of the cosmos, that was all that truly mattered. Their journey had just begun.